You know, so the theme of this conference, performing arts between tradition and contemporary, for me was important because I do contemporary work, all right? So and for me, what is contemporary dance is what happening now in our days, okay, the days that we are living in. And then traditions, I was classically trained with ballet my entire life, but I can no longer go on one's shoes because, you know, after 3 babies, a husband, a dog with separation anxiety, you know, and some love that I gained, what I can do. I decided to move away from the ballet field, and then I got to know improvisation. I fell in love, and today is what I do. I also choreograph, but I prefer improvise. But anyway, so because of that, I had to choose one of my works that resonates with the theme. Although I think that, like I said, everything I create as a choreographer and improviser and filmmaker is relative to the conference theme, I had to pick one work. So I decided to present you guys today holding the center still because it was an interdisciplinary collaboration between visual artist Bernard Roumain, she lives in Boston, Massachusetts, United States, and Paula Higa. Why I decided about this work? Because interdisciplinarity, it's a word that is very common now in the performing arts, all right? So we are collaborating with dramaturgs, composers, actors, and a plethora of people who are in the performing arts. So this is important because it's very contemporary. So when I created this work with Deborah, I had no idea. I said, what I'm going to do? I'm going to choreograph, I'm going to improvise. So there was a lot of conversation, so I would like to explain a little bit the process, okay? So before, you know, getting to know her, to connect to her, I was introduced by her work through a colleague at my university. So what she showed me was Deborah's artwork, which is very abstract. And then I thought, oh my gosh, how can I create something based on this artwork? So I started to do some research. So Deborah, she explores drawing in physical terms using a variety of materials. And paper is the foundation of her work. And I'm like, paper, it's very interesting. She also used wire, glue, pulp, like paper pulp. And then my mind went crazy. I said, oh, perhaps I can toss the pulp. I don't know. Oh my gosh, there's so many ideas. But one thing that really, you know, got me was this idea of this explosive mass of energy. I really like this, you know. And I said, this is interesting because how can I portray this in dance? But anyway, at that time, at my university, there was a little bit of emphasis on the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, I believe. And then I said, what about arts? We make STEM, something like that. You know, so what I did, I created 1 publications based on Deborah's work. So I kind of abstract the material, the paper was the foundation of the dance. And then I put the dancers in the heart of the technology building at UVM. But anyway, it was interesting. The technology people didn't show up, you know. But the design, the setting was amazing. The dancers, they interact with the paper, the students, these are all my students. And then, of course, we created this explosion. By the end of the piece, there were paper, you know, flying all over the building. The space was amazing. Anyway, so this is how I got to know her work. But pandemic came. I said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So during the pandemic, we exchanged emails and phone conversations about how can we collaborate and create something contemporary. So she presented her sculpture made with hog skin and intestines. And I'm like, no, yes. yes. So I created a dance film. This was a short dance film about the skin. So Subipelmea, I gave this my piece. So I was kind of examining the transparency, the stretch, the integrity of the skin. I was fascinated about the skin, especially because at the University of Vermont, I was placed in a category of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And then when I go back to Brazil, I'm a white woman. And I said, this is so interesting, just because of my skin's color. Okay, so let's investigate. So I created this short film where we used the hog skin and the textiles as a projection. And in my body, so my friend, she's a white American person. And I said, okay, so let's dance together, you know. But anyway, so this was just, you know, how we create. After that, Deborah approached, and then she said, okay, I have an installation at the Piano Craft Gallery in Boston, and I want you to perform there. So this was the big challenge for me, because look at her sculpture, and then the space. So as an improviser, I ask her, you know, how do dancers choreograph in response to an artwork? I didn't want to use her artwork as prop, you know, because this was never the idea. But I wanted to, my idea was to be part of her art. And also, how could I embody everything I was seeing there? Because there's so many information. So, when we improvise, it's important for you to observe the environment that you are in. So I'm here, I see the shape of this room, I see the curtains, I see the light, I see you. Am I going to ignore you, all this information? No. Perhaps I can make a choice. Okay, so I'm going to create my dance just in relation to the shape of the room. Or perhaps the light, something that is dark, something that is bright, I don't know, I'm improvising. And then also in relation to you, should I be close and try to read your energy, or distant? Oh, where was that? You know? So there's so many options when we are improvising. So I get upset when people just do whatever you want. No way, Jose. This is not improvisation, all right? So improvisation, like in ballet, is a dance form that requires study, technique, research, all right? So I used to improvise for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, solo, with a musician, a live musician, and we used to meet every week to improvise, to rehearse improvisation. But not that we're going to repeat the same movements, because each experience was unique. So with that in mind, I decided that I was going to choreograph anything. I started to read her artwork. So this is one, like a close-up photo of one of her sculptures. So what do you see here? Give me some words that can feed movement and inspire an improviser.
Spirals.
Spirals.
It's a connection.
Yeah.
The fish.
Oh, nice. I love this English. Any more? Any more words? Shadow. Shadow.
Light.
Light. Yeah. So you see, just like a little photo that we have here, look at how many resources we have. Okay, so with all these words that you guys shared with me, I could, explore movement. Light, shadow, spirals. But anyway, what about this one here? What about this one?
Flight.
Why? Flight.
Open. Wings.
It's
Fly.
open with the shape,
Open.
isn't it? So we see this shape here. So I know, even though I'm improvising, whenever I'm performing at a gallery, and I see her work, I know that something needs to expand. Something needs to come from my radial symmetry, and reach all the extremities of my body. Because this shape feeds, my brain and gives me an aesthetic response. What about this one? Storm. There's never a wrong answer, never. Mass. Yes. Yeah, going deep in here.
A dress.
A dress. I also saw a dress, I saw a dress too. And I showed this to a friend in Japan, and he told me, a volcano. I said, oh, yeah. So you see, how many things I could perhaps, think that I have a long dress and do my improvisation, carry this weight, because, wedding dress has a lot of weight. If I knew it. But anyway. Or I can thinking about war. I don't know, these explosions. I can do so many things just by observing and sensing her art. So, what about this money?
Stairs.
Decomposition. The well-being. Some people are great, but
The decay?
can be
Say again, sorry?
A piece of jewelry.
Okay. Well done. Could be. You see what I'm saying? So, if a piece of jewelry, diamond, oh no, you were wrong. There's no such thing because this is her interpretation, And this is how you are going to respond. Perhaps it's different from my response. But this is the beauty of improvisation. We accept everything, There's no right or wrong. There is improvising, sensing, feeling. And if it works, good for you. If it doesn't work, good for you too. Because you can try again, Each experience is unique. But anyway, so because of that, I was invited again to perform in Connecticut. And it was a different installation, right? At this time, she had even more sculpture in this, gallery. So what I'm trying to say is, even though I'm repeating this solo, every time is different. Every time I see a sculpture or a painting or a piece of the paper or the shape of the paintings is also asymmetric. Anyway, there's so many information that I can feed, my brain and my body with her work that I said, well, let's keep doing. So we did this, the whole experience in Boston, we did in Connecticut, we did in Brazil, in Vermont, and now I'm doing here in Austria. But another point that I want to show to you is about the costume. So Deborah also created this costume to me, which is kind of heavy. But this was just a response to the theme of holding the center stick. So as you can see, there is a little more, the rubber on this side, because on the top of having all her artwork as a source of information for me to improvise, I also have to deal with this unbalanced and balanced idea with the costume that she created. So I think that's because sometimes when you are observing a performance, especially dance, dance, I didn't understand. Oh, I didn't understand. It's not the point, The point is to sense, Try to understand the art. Try to sense. This is my opinion. But anyway, so for me, this costume was also another resource that I had to explore her art in that space, full of information. So this is another photo, and here I was in Brazil. So the issue here was I had a setup like this. So it's hard, when you don't have the sculpture. But I cannot bring like the volcano thing or the dress with me as I travel. So what I did, I created projection using Isadora software. So I project on the screens and then I respond to one scene. So in this situation, it's a little bit more different because, like I said, I also have the audience. So the more resources I have as an improviser, the more material I can generate. Or I can make up one choice and stick with that. But because I'm a very eclectic person, full of energy, I like to observe everything. I'm a vampire. So if I see someone, if I see an object, and it's interesting for me, I embody that material into my improvisation, or not. But anyway, so the point that I'm making here is that I found improvisation a way to continue moving, to continue dancing, because dance is a passion. I have done dance my entire life, But again, as we age, the body changes. We know that. We lose tones, muscles, flexibility, balance. So, in thinking about performing arts between tradition, I said, I'm going to break traditions. So, I think it's time for people to see people like me with my body, on stage. And I think that I'm not trying to be, oh my gosh, the next Martha Ryan. But I'm just trying to show to young dancers that you don't need to retire when you are 35 years old. You can keep dance. And I hope that dance teachers at dance studios, they encourage, these young minds to pursue, to keep going. Because there is never an end. We stop when we want, not when society tells us. So this is, again, my things that I'm sharing. Sorry if I'm preaching. But what we're going to see now is my performance. Because this is the point of why I'm here today. Alright? So I need to put my top. And meanwhile, I would love for you guys, you can open this space for me. You can stay where you are. It's your choice. You can walk as I move